Now, the two-state solution, the idea of a sovereign Palestinian state existing alongside Israel, was once seen as the only realistic path to peace in the Middle East. But today, after the deadliest violence in the region's modern history, it faces perhaps its greatest crisis yet. An upcoming conference aims to revive it as a viable solution. But just how realistic is it?
The idea of a two-state solution dates back to 1947, when the United Nations proposed partitioning the British Mandate of Palestine into two states, one Jewish, one Arab, marked here in red, with Jerusalem under international control. The Jewish leadership accepted the plan, the Arab leaders rejected it, and a war broke out, during which Israel declared independence in May 1948. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were expelled from their homes. The war and its aftermath pushed the founding of any Palestinian state into the future. Escalating tensions over territorial disputes involving Israel, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria led to the 6 Days War in 1967 and brought another 1 million Palestinians under Israeli occupation, along with the territories they claimed for the future state. In 1993, the Oslo Accords revived hopes. Israelis and Palestinians recognized each other and began building a framework for peace. The proposed territory for the Palestinians was much smaller than in 1947 and included Gaza and most of the occupied West Bank under a complex system of shared and divided control. But in the 3 decades since, the vision has been eroded by Palestinian uprisings and terror attacks and Israeli occupation, blockades, and oppression. Since the Hamas terror attack on Israel on October 7, 2023, followed by Israel's full-scale war in Gaza, for many in the region, peace looks more distant than ever. On the Palestinian side, a divide between the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank and Hamas, which still controls Gaza, has paralyzed governance, which is widely seen as corrupt and disconnected from the people. In Israel, the current government, the most right-wing in the country's history, rejects Palestinian statehood outright. Many politicians advocate annexing the occupied West Bank and further expanding Israel's settlements that fragment Palestinian land into isolated enclaves. And the settlements, now housing over 500,000 Israelis, are just one of the key open questions still to be resolved in any future solution. Others include Jerusalem and its status as a capital, Palestinian refugees and the right of return, the final borders and security arrangement, and of course, the future of Gaza, where the war keeps raging on.
And to gain more insight about the viability of a two-state solution, we've invited Muhammad Shehada onto the program. He's a visiting fellow with the Middle East and North Africa program of the European Council of Foreign Relations. He's a Gazan researcher, writer, and human rights advocate. And he joins me now from Copenhagen. Welcome to DW, Mohammed. So France and Saudi Arabia, who co-chair this conference that's coming up, have said that the two-state solution is the only viable path to peace in the Middle East. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's also the way to save Israel itself from itself. It's the way to revive the moderate Israeli peace camp and the Palestinian moderates as well, to give them some momentum. And it is the ultimate way and only way to dismantle Hamas. There's a comprehensive study by the RAND Corporation from 2008 called How Terrorist Groups End. They only found 7% were defeated militarily, 43% through a political process, negotiation of some sort. And that is the ultimate way there. It's also the way to prove Hamas wrong, to weaken it, to provide a better idea that Palestinians can galvanize around.
Right, but the idea of a two-state solution is nearly 80 years old. It's never materialized. Do you think this conference now can produce concrete results, or will it remain merely a symbolic diplomatic exercise?
Well, as you said, it depends on the will of the participants. We've seen some countries that wanted to recognize the state of Palestine, to create some debate inside Israel that the Palestinian state is inevitable. And we've seen other countries trying to water it down. We've seen the United States trying to disencourage other participants from joining in the first place, which would be a huge betrayal, not just for Palestinians, but for Israelis as well. It's for their own sake, for their own survival, for Israel as a democracy, that there should be a Palestinian state as well.
And Mohammed, with both the US, as you were saying, and Israel not attending the conference, can it still create meaningful political momentum, which is what you need?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen now a number of countries that are trying to mobilize for plans for Gaza the day after, or trying to offer a roadmap to Israel to climb down from a tree, and Hamas as well. And we've seen a number of countries that are trying to call for punitive measures towards any party that is obstructing the path of ending this genocide in Gaza or preventing the two-state solution. So if this materializes, of course, it would be very powerful.
France recently announced that it intends to recognize Palestinian statehood in September. How significant is this move, and do you think that it could influence other countries or change the dynamics of the negotiations?
Yeah, absolutely. It can have a snowballing effect of persuading other European countries to follow suit as well. But we've seen some players trying to water it down from within France and the UK as well, and Germany, where they are trying to pair the recognition of Palestine with some impossible conditions of saying recognition would be contingent on dismantling, disarming Hamas before an end to the conflict is reached, before a Palestinian state is created. And that's not how disarmament works through a political process. If you look at Northern Ireland or Colombia or other conflicts, it always works as an outcome of peace agreement, not a prerequisite.
Muhammad, very quickly, just from your perspective, what are some of the other urgent priorities for Palestinian civilians that international forums like this should be addressing beyond statehood?
Well, the first one is to end the genocide in Gaza. If they can't formulate enough pressure for this, it's to get as much food as possible in Gaza and to create pressure. Israel, the only reason why they are now taking a step back and claiming that they would allow more food in Gaza is international pressure. You need to keep it up. It's not the moment to stop. For people that have been subjected to prolonged starvation, it takes months and months and months of sustained food provision to undo some of the damage that's already been done. Some damage cannot be undone at all. And my inbox is flooded with messages from colleagues begging for food day and night.
All right, the perspective there from Muhammad Shehada, Gazan researcher, writer, and human rights advocate. We appreciate you sharing your views here on DW. Thank you, Muhammad.
Thanks for having me.